Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Rizna Fitra Natasha from Group 5 as a first speaker, and our material it is about phonology. Jadi sebelum kita masuk ke materi inti, saya akan menjelaskan secara garis besar apa itu fonologi. Jadi fonologi adalah bunyi ucapan dalam bahasa Inggris. Modifikasi pengaliran udara yang dikeluarkan dari paru-paru melalui oral atau rongga nasal. Fonologi ini adalah ilmu yang mempelajari tentang suatu sistem dalam bahasa. Ilmu ini merupakan salah satu cabang dari linguistik yang berkaitan dengan cara pengucapan bahasa. So let's move our material. The first material it is about structure, phonology structure. So phonology deals with sound structures in individual language. The wide distinction in sounds are used to different linguistic items, and the ways in which the sound structure of the same element varies as a function of the other sounds in context. Phonology and phonetics both involve sounds in natural language, but different in that phonetic deals with sounds from a language-independent point of view, while phonology studies the way in which they are disturbed and deployed within particular language. Phonology originates with the insight that much observable phonetic details is irrelevant or predictable within the system of a given language. This led to the posting of distinctive features of contrast. Later work show that focus and surface contrast ultimately was misguided, and generative phonology replaced this with a conception of phonology as an expert speaker's knowledge of linguistic structure. So important research problems have enveloped the relation between phonological and phonetic form, the mutual interaction of phonological regulation, the relation of phonological structure to others component of grammar, and the appearances of rules versus constraints as formulation of phonological regulations. Jadi fonologi berhubungan dengan struktur suara dalam bahasa individu. Cara perbedaan suara digunakan untuk membedakan item linguistik, dan cara struktur suara dari elemen yang sama bervariasi sebagai fungsi dari suara lain dalam konteksnya. Fonologi dan fonetik keduanya memang melibatkan suara dalam bahasa alami, tetapi berbeda dalam hal itu. Fonetik berkaitan dengan suara dari sudut pandang yang tidak bergantung pada bahasa, dan sedangkan fonologi mempelajari cara-cara pendistribusian dan penggunaan dalam bahasa tertentu. Fonologi berasal dari pemahaman bahwa banyak detail fonetik yang dapat diamati tidak relevan atau dapat diprediksi dalam sistem bahasa tertentu. Hal ini menyebabkan pengajuan ciri khas kontras. Penelitian selanjutnya menunjukkan bahwa fokus pada kontras permukaan pada akhirnya salah arah, dan fonologi generatif menggantikan ini dengan konsepsi fonologi sebagai aspek pengetahuan penutur tentang struktur linguistik. Masalah penelitian penting telah melibatkan hubungan antara bentuk fonologi dan fonetik. Interaksi timbal balik dari keteraturan fonologis, hubungan struktur fonologis dengan komponen tata bahasa lainnya, dan kesesuaian aturan versus batasan sebagai formulasi keteraturan fonologis. Okay, the second material it is about phonological theories. Well, there are some phonological theories, but the two classic theories are generative phonology and natural phonology. Generative phonology includes the tone that underlying phonological representation are translated into all tones according to the rules of grammar of the phonological system to create a surface phonetic representation. Natural phonology explains why children create a surface why children tend to simplify speech. Additionally, the enduring concept from Stam's theory of natural phonology is the phonological process. In current times, the learned types of phonological process is simply used to describe error patterns in the speech of children. Contemporary theories of phonological include optimally theory, non-linear phonology, and representation-based accounts of children's speech. Each of these our alternative explanation as well as description of speech acquisition and ESD in children. So, thank you from your watching. I hope you will understand and jika kalian ingin bertanya, silahkan bertanya di komentar sebentar. Well, I think enough from my material. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Phonological rules. Think about the difference between aspirate and unspirate allophones once more. The sound P, T, and K, for example, share a phonetic feature. They belong to the category plosive sound. Since all plosive sounds that occur at the beginning of a word or a straight syllable are produced with such a puff, air, ear, they are aspirate. We can formulate a general rule that learners of English would bear in mind when they start to learn the English language. First, aspiration rule in English. Aspiration occurs on all voiceless stops occurring as the first sound in a stressed syllable. Although aspirate stops and unaspirate stops are physically different, we consider both to be the same sound. For English, aspiration is not implied to create a meaning difference. And here are more rules for you keeping in your mind. First is assimilation rule. Assimilation is a common phonological process by which one sound becomes more like a nervy sound. This can occur either within a word or between words. In rapid speech, for example, handbag is often pronounced handbag. As in this example, the sound segments typically assimilate to a following sound. This is called regressive or anticipatory assimilation. But they may also assimilate to a predicting one, progressive assimilation. While assimilation most commonly occurs between immediately adjacent sounds, it may occur between sounds separated by others. Next, dissimilation rule. This type of rule refers to process whereby two neighboring sounds become less similar. An example is the rule of fricative dissimilation. Consider how hard it is for German to produce the th sound in learning the ordinal numbers. The numbers 5th and 6th for example, present a pronunciation challenge in this regard. It is difficult to pronounce two fricatives next to one another when one of them involves the th sound that does not exist in one's language. Interestingly, though, such sound sequences appear to present challenge for many native speakers too. Therefore, they tend to make one of the two sounds more different from the other. As a result, fifth is pronounced as fifth, fifth, and sixth as sixth. The second fricative becomes a stop, which makes it more dissimilar as easier to pronounce. Rule in this kind of process sound is a date that is not present in slow pronunciation or spelling. For example, when we pronounce the word hamster at the regular speed, most of us will say and hear hamster with A and P. This can be confusing when teaching spellings, especially to non-native speakers who don't have a history of reading and hearing English words and their spelling. Next rule, dilatation rule. Finally, there are types of pronunciation process where sounds are left off. For example, when pronouncing the word police, the word often sounds like place and may be confused with please if one is not used the hearing voiced as. This unstressed vowel dilatation is very common in fast speech and can be confusing the non-native listening in ESL context, who often hear words long before they need to spell them. Okay, next there is minimal pairs. In phonology, minimal pairs are pairs of words and phrases in particular language, spoken or signed, that differ only one phonological element, such as a phoneme and phoneme, and have distinct meaning. They are used to demonstrate that two phonemes are two separate phonemes in the language. Many phonologists in the middle part of 20th century had a strong interest in developing techniques of discovering the phonemes and unknown language, and in some cases they set up writing system for the language. The major work of Kenneth Pike on the subject is phonemic, a technique for reducing language or to writing. The minimal pairs was an essential tool in the discovery process and was found by substitution or commutation tests.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, I will continue the matter of my group. I am Indriani as the third speaker. So I will explain to you here is about the difference between phonetic and phonology. So what is the difference yet between both of them? So first, phonetic deals with the sounds produced organs. Phonology, on the other hand, deals with sounds and their changes due to various factors such as climate, change, race, the influence of other language, and the like. So the difference between phonetics and the phonology, phonetics is more about the organs of our body. This is talking about organ, guys. But on the other hand, phonology talking about the changing of sound. so it's more deep than the organ. And guys, phonetic is the one of phonology. But here, phonology is more about study of sound itself. So that is the first differentiate between phonology and phonetics. The second one is phonetic itself talk about the sound production organs for the mouth, tongue, throat, nose, lips, and plate. So there are some organs who make sounds like your mouth, your tongue, your throat, your nose, lips, and plate. And from these organs or parts of the mouth, various sounds are produced. These sounds are called guttural, palatal, cerebral, dental, and labial. However, in phonology, the topic is more wide than in phonetic. There are various voice changes such as diphthongization, palatalization, metastation, anaptization, apocope, syncope, vocal splitting, haplology, assimilation, dissimilation, and the like. So guys, if we're talking about phonetic, it means we're talking about our organs. But if you're talking about phonology, it's more about the name of the sounds itself, the name of sound itself. But phonetic more about who make it sounds, who make it sounds, what what part of our body that makes sounds like that. Okay, guys. So the third, if you look at IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, the classification for place of origin or sound articulation for consonant is much broader. They are label and labial teeth, alveolar, post-alveolar, retroflex, palatal, filar, and soft. But guys, phonology paved the way or laid the groundwork for morphology of word building. Yes, it means here we're talking about phonology, we're talking about the patterns of our mouth, the patterns of our mouth. But if we're talking about phonetics, it's talking about that mouth itself, that mouth itself, that mouth. Yes, and the next one is phonetic relate to the study of the production of the thought. On the other hand, phonology relate to the study on the characteristic of the voice and his makeover. This is difference between the fundamental phonetic and phonology. So there is one of the difference, the fundamental difference between phonetic and fundamental phonologies relate to the study. Relate to the study. Yes. If we're talking about phonetic, it relates to the study of organ of our body. But if we're talking about the phonology, we're talking about the changing of sound, and the characteristic of that sounds like that, guys. Okay, now in addition, can be said that phonetic is part of the phonology. This is caused by the fact that phonology based on phonetics. Therefore, phonetics forming part of a very important to understand the origin of the philophone. So guys, so the point is phonetic talking about the part of our body who could make sounds, and phonology talking about their sounds and the changing of their sounds. Well, yes, that is the difference yet between phonology and phonetics. Now we will move at the function of phonology itself. So what is the function of phonology? Well, phonologies are commonly used in the cumulative phonology as a notion to capture sound relate operations and computations the human brain perform when producing or comprehending spoken language. So, the function of phonology itself, it's relate to spoken, to our spoken. As a human, we need phonology to make sounds, to make better sound, to make understand about what we are talking about, like that. And then, guys, the function of phonology is to make linguistic items, which are represented by rather abstract symbol, pronounceable, and understandable. It is intimately related to phonetics. Yes, this is the function of phonology. So we have to learn about phonology because why? The function is to make pronounceable and understandable with others, like that. And the next one is phonology deals with sound structure in individual language. The way distinction in sound are used to differentiate linguistic items, and the way in which the sound structure of the same element varies as a function of the other sound in the context. So, how to make differentiate between all words that have same word, but when we use phonology we can know about the meaning of that word itself. So even though we mention same word but in the different pressure, for example, it means we use phonology. So that is the function of phonology itself. And then the last one is, guys, phonology is about patterns of sound, especially different patterns of sound in different languages, or within each language different patterns of sound in different position in the words, etc. So guys, this is the last. The point is about pattern of sounds. Guys, so if you're talking about the pattern of sound, it means all words have different pattern. Why? Because we we don't know about the meaning of people when they have same pattern to make sound. So the people make understandable about what they're talking about by make the difference about pattern of their sounds, like that when they want to explain the word. So that's the function of phonology itself. So I think that's all. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I say I'm so sorry if there are any mistaking for our group. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.